come across the message of where Summer was in hospital at the time, and we're talking, and I showed those as well. So obviously, it's not true, and I have watched the kids.
And it seems like you watched them a few times, from what you're saying. So, do you know the last time that you saw Summer in person?
You know, and they were trying to get it, but there was some question. I don't know. We were talking, we were interacting. I felt like there was some stuff being talked about dogs, and all that. You know, and so I don't know which one was which. You know, but for me, the image that stays in the last real interact, it's just those two moments are seared in. Uh, but her, with the door.
So the shower thing, what can you kind of go into detail about that?
Well, people have made it like a thing, like it was solely me that said this. Look, Allie said it apparently long before I did. Other friends, other family, whatever, had already said that prior to myself, and I didn't realize it, right?
Hmm.
And then when I said it, somehow it became a big deal. But literally, like 90 other people prior to me had apparently verified and confirmed this, right? Um, right? And had said it themselves, including Allie and them. But all it was Summer Thor. I was talking to Candace, and I kind of turned because Summer's beating and banging on the glass door, etc. Right, and I couldn't really tell because she was in like silhouette, right, where the light's behind her, it's shining, but you don't,
Hmm.
and you can the way I was parked and all that, and I was talking to her one night. I have an angle through the house, but then Summer was wanting a towel, and Candace goes, "Hold on, I'll get it." I was like, "What's she wanting?" She goes, I was like, "Is that Summer?" She goes, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I was like, because she kept beating and she kept telling Summer to hold on or whatever. Like Summer kept beating on the door and yelling at her. And Candace was like, she's wanting a towel. And her and Dawn, showering. And then you can see Dawn's shadow,
Her
come
and
out.
Don
But
were in the shower together.
yeah, but I mean, apparently everybody else knew this was normal. So it wasn't
Wow.
just saying that. This is not like, oh, Jody Sue made it up. Others have confirmed this, knew about it. But at the time I knew about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and people are like, oh, how did you see Don coming in the sheriff's center? Look, if you know the position of things there, but it was Don shadow. You can see him. You know what I mean? There's only the boys left in there, right? And you see
Right.
Don, and then Candace goes in to get the all these things, and so I mean, when you have it verbally confirmed, and you can see, Don kind of moving through the house as he's getting out as well. The angle and the lighting and everything. I mean, it's not that difficult. You know what the fuck, right? I mean, these other people can speculate all they want and say how is that possible and whatever and act like I meant like I had some X-ray fucking vision or something, right? But
Hmm.
and they make everything I say or do nefarious, even if other people around everywhere have said the same, fied the same. If it's me that says it, telling you what.
Now, did you see that inside? Were you inside their home at that time, or what?
No, I had pulled up to the top right there.
Okay, so
And
you saw it from the driveway.
Candace was at the driver's side window and stuff. But it's because when Summer was banging on the door and all that on the glass door, because that's all that was closed. Uh, it was but all you gotta do is turn your head and you can kind of, you know what I mean? Like it's a small house. There's an angle through the door. You're parked right. I mean, like you got one door and then the next, going in. So,
Now, do you remember what you went up there for?
I honestly fucking do not. I
Okay.
probably have messages, quite frankly,
Yeah.
or Monster did on his, or who the fuck knows. But and I may have said very early on, it may be one of my very early videos or somewhere in fucking between. But you lose little things like that, along the way. And there's starting to be moments where some things are starting to, I don't know, just kind of fade, I guess, and others are getting brought,
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, uh, just, but yeah, I'm sure it's here somewhere, honestly, in one of my videos.
Do you know if Don Wells drugging any of the kids?
Like, I don't know of any of that, right? I know that, like, Candace was obviously giving kids things, right? What the fuck that was other than pot, I do not know. I know, like, the over the counter shit too, whatever, but, uh, what the fuck was really going on? Who the fuck knows? But I do know at least, pot, things like that. Yeah. But as far as Dawn, I really, there's lots of things I wonder about and things that have come out in the wash since, and
Do you know of that or?
I don't know,
Hmm.
but I worry, you know.
Yeah, of course.
The thought, it's no, you know, it's one of those. I mean, you wonder. But if she was giving it to the others, then why not? That's my thought on it. But that doesn't mean that's it actually was because I don't know that.
Were you in the creek at all that day?
Yeah,
Creek.
looking for something.
Okay, so this was after the police were already called, or
Uh, well, I had like technically yes, right? Because you run in like when it first like got serious, man, I was like, there's something wrong. There's too many calls for summer. By the time I'd reached the bottom of the driveway, I kind of go across, look down, kind of casually in that Sucker Creek, and then, but I don't go into it or anything. I just look over the bank. And if you've been there, you know the spot I'm talking about, kind of like the cliff-like piece if you pass Candace Nim's Drive, and you're across from where the trash can and then all that was.
right?
I walked over, looked down over the ridge, and was like, well, okay, I don't see her there. Don't see her on the side of the hill type of thing. Then I walked down towards Candace Nim's driveway to the right. And I tried to holler up at Candace a couple times, couldn't hear me, whatever, to be like, I hear you, I'm down here looking, but she couldn't hear me, and I was like, well, fuck it, it's wasting time. So I just carried on to the right, and if you know the part where you come to the bend in the tunnel that goes under the roadway for the creek, uh, I went over to the right and looked down inside of the tunnel, right, that goes
Hmm.
under, right, that goes
Hmm.
under, and the right side was kind of dry, so there was really no need to look. I didn't see some of there visually, and it was just, there's no need to go further with that. The left side had quite a bit of water in it where it was dammed and kind of stopped up by the brush cutters, wood cutters, that type of thing. So I, I started to go over and step down in a spot that's kind of notorious. I've seen some of the tragedy pimps go back and go, there was needles and drug material over. Yeah, it's because junkies know they can come into the road right there, and kind of it's one of the areas sort of not seen. And they do dope and then they toss shit out right there. And anyway, I
So,
stepped there and I started to go towards the creek in that
mhm,
area. I heard Candace coming down the driveway. It sounded like her and somebody else. Ended up being Dawn on the phone. Come to find out just seconds later. But what I did was I stepped back up out of that area and kind of towards where she was going to, you know what I mean? And so
right.
I made it in the roadway so she'd see me. And then she stops and our conversation takes place. Really quick interaction. It wasn't very long. I realized it's Dawn on speakerphone. Because I looked around the vehicle in the back of there, and there was somebody else in there she was arguing with and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? There was nobody in there. And then Dawn pops up, on the speakerphone and says what he said, which is,
Do you remember what
pretty.
he said?
Yeah, he was like, so you're telling me somebody took my baby girl, but Candace, uh, yeah, I remember her face, and I just, I was like, she was like, Summer's missing. I was like, I know, I heard you. I was like, look, at her scream earlier. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Right?
Hmm.
By that time, the thoughts in my head are, I heard this scream earlier, and it was summer, and here it's been this, pretty lengthy period. And that means that, she's hurt, she's out here somewhere, and it's been that long, and now she can't be found. She must be really bad hurt here somewhere, right? Type of thing. That was my thought, is that I, ignored and try to, like dismiss everything, right? I tried to find reasons for it sound, never could, and it just, but then here she is looking for Summer, you know, and it's like, oh shit, Summer's been down here hurt somewhere or something.
Do you
And
remember?
so,
Yeah, go ahead.
so I told her, I was like, I'm looking, whatever. And, Dawn says that at a certain point, and then she curve runs into another neighbor who's usually outside at that time as well, and they immediately, like, it's pretty quick interaction. I can see their feet legs whole time through like kind of little brush line out there. It's not very dense at the time. And they asked me like, "Do you want me to take the bank or creek?" I was like, "Well, hell, you got boots on. I got sandals. I'll take the fucking creek." That's what I was going to do anyway. And so that's what we do. We search together. We keep eye contact and verbal contact the entire time as we're going, through everything. And you know,
So who know like okay, first question I have from this is do you remember whose phone Don was on? Was he on Candace's? Was it Candace's phone he was talking to you through or
it was kind of more thick and black, as I recall. Like, it had a thicker case on it, but I don't exactly fucking know, right? Because
okay,
they always had different phones coming and went, It
right.
was just that day in that moment in time. I didn't really catalog it. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Okay. No, yeah, I completely understand. So the other question I have is who notified you to go search? Like, how did you know that you needed to go search for Summer?
Like when I got down to the bottom. I mean, because like I
Because you were
hit
sitting in,
I
because you were
hit
sitting in your house, right? And then you heard the scream. So who did somebody come to your house and say, "Hey, Summer's missing. We need you to go search the creek," or how did that happen?
no, I was up in the cabin and I could like I was already getting ready. Monster was getting off work, right? And then he decided he was gonna be quote running late. And anyway, I
Because you were
hit
sitting in your house, right? And then you heard the scream. So who did somebody come to your house and say, "Hey, Summer's missing. We need you to go search the creek," or
no,
how did that happen?
no, I was up in the cabin and I could like I was already getting ready. Monster was getting off work, right? And then he decided he was gonna be quote running late. And anyway, bullshit, right? But he I was like, well, and every like especially when it's kind of at least a decent somewhat day, I'd go out with him, so he would just come back and pick me up, and then we'd go out and get food, groceries, whatever the hell was needed, right? And so like most days like that, I was just meeting him at the bottom of the driveway, like usual, gonna go out and come back, right? And then he decided he was gonna be late, and I was already ready, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna go ahead and go on down, mess with my flowers, right? And that was right, and that was kind of a
Mhm.
push because I knew he was up to shit, right? Banging chick in the BP bathroom type of thing. So I kind of like, uh, if I told him I was already going to be down there, that meant he had to kind of hurry up, right? And do his thing and get the hell there instead of lollygagging. And so I told him I was going to go ahead and be down there, and I did one type of thing, and whatever. And that was at 6:09 at the very top of the driveway before I lost all connection to the satellite internet. That was the
Mhm.
last spot you can get it. And I walked onto the driveway, and Summer's name's being called out. By the time I reached the bottom, you can tell by the tone and Candace. So it's an immediate, the noise that I heard, and all these things coming together. So it wasn't that anybody asked or somebody come and told me. I mean, I could hear them yelling for Summer. And then, here's this scream earlier. But either way, even if I hadn't heard a scream or seen a flash or a door, any of that stuff today, I would have still been like, oh shit, this isn't right because I had never ever them have to call for Summer or any of the kids that many times. I mean, you just kind of know, right? I mean,
Right.
usually you call their name 3 times and they know the third time's serious, right?
Mhm. Of course.
And
So,
some the other time I'd ever heard in that, I mean, it's just like maybe 10 calls for her before she decided to come unhide from on top of the hill, mad at the time and whatnot. So, but nothing like was going on there. And you could tell as things increased. And then there was this one point as I'm below the bank and Candace screams at the boys, as they kind of gather up top near her and they all come back around and sort of meet each other in the same spot. And she's like, and she yells stuff at them and, what did you do? What did you do? Nothing, mama, I swear, is what I heard. And it just really kicked it into overdrive. It was, oh shit, something is very wrong.
what is that day when they were calling out for Summer? Did they have walkie talkies on them? Do you remember that, or
They did not have walkie talkie.
they didn't have walkie talkies? Okay.
But I didn't see them while they were calling out for somewhere on top of the hill. I could just tell where they were by sound. What I
Right,
did.
but you didn't see any walkie talkies like in their hands or anything.
Well, I met the boys around when I and the other neighbors stuff when we, reached because by that point, I'd already seen Dawn and Ann and all that, and the first cop cars come in. At the same time, I kind of reached the boys, right?
So
Uh,
was Don and Andy there before the cops came?
no, the first two were coming in as Andy was kind of coming in, right?
Mhm.
And you could hear them hauling ass in. I knew it was them coming, so the neighbors. I mean, if you're in there, there's signs that they're coming for a long time prior. But Andy comes in and he talks to Candace because Candace is waiting at the end of Ben Hill, right? And she tells him, and I could hear some portions of the conversation, so I know he kind of knows. But then I make sure towards the guardrail at the main part of the road, right, Beach Creek Road itself,
Mhm.
and I kind of, do a little wave, and he stops, and he's in my soul, and then I was like, Summer's missing. He's like, I know. I was like, well, I seen you over, Candace, but I just on. He drives up and down the road looking for Summer. Dawn comes in almost the same time. Cops come in, all that shit. Dawn's in the Subaru. Um, and then Dawn uh sees us, myself and the boys. Flat down there in field, and you hear him talk about that, I think in Enton's interview maybe. But I had met the boys down there, and they were closest to another property in a fence line. And a cop was sitting right back there and had visuals on us, right?
Mhm.
And I asked the boys where they'd seen Summer last, and then they get up and they kind of, because when I come up on them, they were kind of squatted down, looking in kind of one of the more shallow, like little creek thing there, sort of. But it was they were just, I don't know, I don't know. But they stand up when they see me, and then they're like, when we talk, it was very strange. And they tell me the last place, they see Summer and how long it had been. And then they take off through the middle, like between the hill and the creek, and to go back towards, the house with Candace and all. And I think that was maybe my last interaction with the boys that day. I may have seen the oldest again at some point with Dawn coming and going, but I don't. That may have been the next day because it was
Was
most
it
I seen through the night that night, and birds talked on the road a few times. This and the others.
was there anybody on horses in the creek with
Yeah,
you?
there is a caterpillar. It's a woolly worm, guys.
Oh, look
And
at that. Yeah, the whole chat was talking about it.
oh, where? Yeah, I just seen the one. And this fella has been hanging out with me most of the day because I was at one of the other family members, and one of the cats had found this little guy and was very confused as to why it made his nose tickle. And then the went up into a ball, and then he was tossing it around, and I felt bad. And the other family was like, "Well, go put it somewhere where it can do whatever." And I knew the cat, so
Solar.
yeah,
Can you say that, Jody? Say Solar.
so dar.
Nice. So back to the creek real fast. Was there anybody down on the creek with you that were on horses at all?
No.
No. Okay, I kind
Oh,
of heard that, but
they put that in there too.
so Frank wasn't down there with y'all searching too.
No.
Okay.
And it's falsely put in as some sort of nonsense by local YouTubers that were here very early on and came directly to try to do. It's very weird.
Yeah, they do like to spin things and twist things and make
And
new narratives.
into investigations where they don't belong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there was no need to involve Frank Light in any of this. I don't get it, quite frankly.
So you don't think he has any involvement with anything?
Look, all the stuff they put him, as
Yeah.
far as, I mean, yeah, he really does have that criminal record on it, right?
Mhm.
And they put out that him and I are friends. Look, I don't even know. Like, I may have been around it here and there a couple times throughout the years. I don't know. But as far as hanging out or partying, I think they even put us at Hog Wild hanging out. At times, that was not true either. Like, he and I aren't friends. Anybody with that type of record, we ain't buddies or pals.
Right.
Okay? It's never going to happen.
The popular question in the chat's been, have you ever met Tim Mullins?
No, and I've been warned by people around the case itself. No go.
Stay away from him. Now, there's a rumor that Candace is back on the hill. Have you heard that? Do you know
I've
anything
heard,
about that?
honestly, I just hope wherever she's at, she's not being terrorized, tormented, which you can tell by what Don B was doing here a while back. That's obviously not the case, and I do know by stuff in the middle here between offices, the ways we do have. Look, I'm just gonna tell you that she still ain't not being terrorized, but I hope that she's getting stuff together, thinking through things, doing what she needs to do, visiting the boys and doing whatever. So but even if she's back on the hill, I wouldn't say that, or I wouldn't give her whereabouts because
Right,
what
of course.
Candace and Dawn, the boys, the neighbors, all of us, it's not okay, man. It's not okay. And they're not going to get any there confession by dogs or overwhelming services. It's not how any of this is going to be solved.
So do you think that there's a confession that needs to be made by them? Is that what you're
I
hinting
don't
at, or?
I don't know who's responsible, and I have many puzzles and pieces I work through, and no